Hey guys, Roger here. This week I'm back with something totally different. Now usually I'm playing around with lots of RGB, but what I actually have here is a mid-tower PC case which has absolutely no RGB at all. It doesn't even have a tempered glass side panel. The case has actually been designed to keep noise as low as possible, so that's the focus. Now just before I go any further, if this is your first time watching one of my videos, please do consider subscribing to the channel, hit the notification bell so that you get notified when I release a new video, and if you enjoyed this video or you find it useful, please also give it a thumbs up. Also, a big thanks to AbkonCore for sponsoring this video. They have actually sponsored a few videos on the channel recently, and you can take a look at some of their other products by clicking the link above or in the description below. Okay, so this case is called the Cronos Zero Noise Stone, and it has acoustic dampening panels on the inside pretty much everywhere, apart from at the back of the case. The design of this case is very, very minimal, so I think this would work well for someone planning a build without all of that RGB. Perhaps this would work well in an office, or maybe even in a studio like here, where the noise needs to really be kept to a minimum. So before I talk about all of the specs of the case, I wanted to do a kind of sound test. This is not a really scientific sound test or anything like that, but what I did was put this case next to another one of their cases, one of my favourite AbkonCore cases at the moment actually, the Helios 500G. Now, I like the Helios case because I think it looks nice, but the idea of this short clip is to see how noisy the Helios 500G is compared with the Cronos Zero Noise case. So, just have a look at this. Okay, so just by watching that short clip, you can see that yes, you can still hear some noise coming from the Cronos case, but it is much quieter compared with the Helios 500G. Especially here in the room, you really can notice a big difference. Okay, so with that part out of the way, looking around the case, as I mentioned, AbkonCore are using the dampening material to try and reduce noise, and you see that material on the inside of the case. Obviously not at the back though, where your expansion slots and the power supply are. So both sides of the case have a solid steel panel, so no tempered glass with this one. You get 4 rubber feet on the bottom and removable dust filters on the bottom as well on the outside. On the inside there are 2 fans that come with it. Both of them are 120 millimeters and they're plain fans, no RGB of course, but you may want to add another fan or 2 depending on what type of build you are going to put in this case. There is actually space for 3 120 millimeter fans at the front and 1 120 millimeter fan at the back, but as I mentioned, you already get 2 fans with this, one at the front and one at the back. You can also install a radiator in the case up to 240 millimeters at the front or 120 millimeters at the back if you remove the fan that's already there. The case holds a mini ITX, micro ATX or ATX motherboard. There is space for CPU coolers up to 168 millimeters, graphics cards up to 390 millimeters in length, and power supplies up to 225 millimeters. Also, there is space for 2 3.5-inch hard drives and up to 6 SSDs, or if you're going to combine them, then you can get 2 hard drives in here and 4 SSDs, so that's pretty good. Also around the back of the case there is just enough room for some simple cable management too. Looking at the top of the case, you get the power and reset switch, 2 USB 2.0 and 1 USB 3.0 ports, the standard 3.5mm headphone and mic sockets. There is also an LED button, which of course won't really need to be used with this case. I think it's most likely there as the front panel design is probably used on some of their other cases that maybe have tempered glass side panel. On the inside there are nice rubber covers around the cable holes, which keeps things a little bit more tidy, and the bottom section that holds the power supply and hard drive cage is covered up, so that area is separate. And although you can see the power supply at the bottom through that small opening, when the side panel is put back in place, of course, you won't be able to see it. So the build in this case is the same build I've used in all of the other AbkonCore case videos actually. So it's a Ryzen 5 2600 with just the stock CPU cooler and a GTX 1650 Super graphics card. So it's very straightforward, no water cooling or anything in here. So I don't normally run very in-depth tests, but I did run just some simple benchmarks to look at temperatures inside the case after running the benchmarks, and this is what I got. Most of the case is metal apart from the front panel, which is plastic, and the front panel has two sections on each side for airflow. And of course, if the very front section was completely wide open, it really would make much more noise, which defeats the object of the case, and it's trying to keep things nice and quiet. So the two sections for airflow run from the top to the bottom on both sides of the case, and I think this balances airflow and noise control fairly well. So after working in this case, putting a build into the case and having it running here for a couple of weeks so far, I think it does what it needs to do. It does keep noise to a minimum. It's not going to appeal to everyone with this really basic design, but for certain situations, such as in an office or in a studio, exactly in this kind of environment where things need to be nice and quiet, then I think this case will do exactly what it's been designed for. I hope you enjoyed the video, or you perhaps found it useful. Please let me know in the comments as well what you think about this case and whether or not you would use one. I'm Roger with Life of Tech. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, see you in the next one.